Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to join NJASL tonight for our Great Books to Order swap meet. We invite folks to take part in this by sharing some of their own titles. I sent out a link for the slide deck so you can see that books that are in the slide deck, but you are also more than welcome to add your own. So let me just do a couple of quick housekeeping items here. For those who aren't familiar with swap meets, as I said, we invite you to take part and to be part of the presentation so we can learn with each other and from each other. And basically, I'll kick things off with just a couple of quick things. And then if people want to share something, they can. You don't have to, but if you feel like it, you are more than welcome to join in with the sharing. And there's a sample there. After this event is over, probably in the next couple of days, I'll send out another email with a little link for a quick form to fill out. When you fill it out, it'll send you a PD certificate if you are looking to get one. And that's how that'll go. And I think that's pretty much the preamble. Oh, one other thing that I'll mention is we've got more PD coming up. Our August event, we're still finalizing the details, but it looks like August 12th-ish, we're going to be having another event. So look for that in your email and on social media and on our calendar on the NJASL website, where we keep a list of all our upcoming PD, where you can see what's going on with that. So I think that brings us to some sharing. So we are fortunate enough tonight to have Jess Donovan here, who knows every book ever and is very excited to share them. But before we get to Jess, I wanted to give folks a chance to kind of get in and share a couple of things. And I usually try and kick things off, kind of set the tone. So I wanted to start with, I'm not a lower grades teacher. I've been in middle school for 25 years, and I taught high school for a little bit in and around that. So 4 to 6 is about as low as my age range goes when it comes to books. But I do like a good picture book. But this one was one that I read recently that I don't know if people are necessarily aware of. And I was really tickled that it takes place in New Jersey. It takes place in the Pine Barrens. So if you're not familiar, Adam Gidwitz has a series, the Unicorn Rescue Society. And the first book is The Creature of the Pines, which is obviously the Jersey Devil that they go looking for and they find, and it's really kind of fun. It's a very easy to read, fun, enjoyable, quick read that folks might get a kick out of. It's from 2018, so it's newer-ish, but not like new. So if you don't know that one, maybe that's one you want to check out, or that your students might want to check out. It's a real fun one. One other one that, actually, I've got two more. One other one that I want to share is Conquest. Quest, because it's a quest that takes place at a con, at a convention. And it's sort of in the 6-8 band range, I would say. And this one is about a family whose parents wrote for a hugely popular sci-fi show. And they go around to different conventions and they take their kids with them when they go to the conventions. And they go to what is basically an analog of the San Diego Comic-Con. And there are two twins that are in middle school who love this kind of stuff, especially the girl loves it even more than the boy does. The boy's got a little bit of autism, so they've sort of got a little bit of neurodiversity going there, and they are taking part in a scavenger hunt that takes place at the con, and if they win, they get this great boon that they want, but their older sister is supposed to be watching them, so the twins sneak off, and the older sister has to try and track them down in the con. What I loved about this is there's so much stuff for the adult geek because there's so many little in-jokes and references. And if you are a sci-fi person or a fantasy person, or you like know about cons, there's so many little things in here that I don't think our younger readers are going to get, but they're so fun. So lots of little in-jokes there if you're looking for something a little different. And the last one I'm going to throw out there, this one's more for high school, The Meister of Decimon City. This one just came out recently. Really enjoyed this book. It's about a girl who is a young woman who is a mad scientist, basically. And sometimes she's a supervillain and sometimes she's a superhero. And it kind of depends on what day of the week you catch her. Yeah, she cured cancer, but she also cloned dinosaurs that ran loose in the city and caused all sorts of mayhem. So like, it's a little bit of a balancing act. And her brother comes to her asking her for help, but her brother is one of the worst villains in the world. and her sister comes to her asking for help, and her sister is one of the greatest heroes in the world. And so Rex has to kind of decide what's she going to do, how's she going to do this, can she help them both, does she want to help them both? And on top of all of that, she's trying to figure out her romantic life, which seems to keep falling apart because she can't quite figure out who she is or what she is looking for. And I'm going to toss a tiny spoiler out there, but she does eventually determine that she is asexual, not aromantic, but asexual. And so there's a little bit of a different kind of representation here, which I really appreciated. And it's just a really fun story. It's very funny. It doesn't go the way you think it's going to go, and I really enjoyed that. So those were a couple that I wanted to toss out there in case people weren't aware of them. And I think we've got a couple from Esther. Esther, if you want to share, you are more than welcome to jump on in and tell us about these titles.
Okay, so I met Joshua Levy at the NJASL conference. It turns out that he lives in the next town over from me. And I even had him come to my school. And when I have authors come to the school, I always have them do something more interactive with the kids. So I'll just say he does a great author visit. I had him do writing prompts with the seventh graders. We have 5 classes of seventh graders. And it was really good. He did it in 45 minutes, and they really got into it. So he didn't even really talk about his books. The only thing he did talk about, we were talking about writing prompts. So he would pull some things from this particular book. He's written lots of other books, but this is his latest. And it's very funny. It's about, and I just wanted to bring it to people's attention because I don't know if you would come across this, but it's about these 2 boys who are stuck in a time loop. It is their bar mitzvah weekend, and they can't get out of this time loop. And one is more religious than the other. They're both struggling with different. And one of the boys, he's the only child, and he doesn't want all the attention. And the other boy, he's one of several kids, and he doesn't get enough attention. And they end up by having to help each other get out of this time loop. And they mentioned a lot of things. It takes place, I think, in Bergenfield, in Bergen County. So it was just a lot of fun. He writes we have a lot of his books. He writes the dialogue is smart, it's sharp, and it was just a lot of fun. So I figured, I don't know if anybody would be interested, I think you'd be interested. I don't know if you'd come across this. I don't know if it's been reviewed yet, but it just came out. So that's that one. And also I would just say that he's a wonderful guy, and I would recommend him for an author visit. There's another Adam Gidwitz book, and this also just came out. It's the first of 2. And it's about a 12-year-old boy who has been rescued during the Holocaust. They had something called the Kinder Transport. I'm not sure if people are familiar with that. So he leaves his parents, and he feels so guilty about leaving his parents. He ends up staying with this family that is like, it's a very unrealistic book, I have to say. It's almost like the way you would hope it would be. He ends up by staying with this aristocratic family in England. And it turns out that they are spies, and they trained him to be a spy so he could go back to Berlin and help his parents. And there's a whole lot of stuff. I wouldn't say it's a typical Holocaust book. It's more like a fantasy. And he also has these 2 D-books on his shoulders. And I read an article about Adam likes to, when he has something that is a subject matter that's very serious, he needs to have some comic relief because he says he wants to take care of his readers. And I really appreciate that. So it's not a scary book, but it's a historical fiction, but it's really fun. It's a really fun story. So this is the first one. The second one has not come out yet. That's Adam Max and the House of Spies. And then the next one, this was just a lot of fun. We also had Tara Lazar as an author visit. She was a lot of fun. She has this, I don't have it with me, it's in school, but it's called Absurd Words, and it's really hysterical. If anyone has seen Tara, also she's been at the NJASL conferences. So it's just basically it's a dictionary, but not a straight dictionary. It's just it's the way she presents it is a lot of fun, and I would say that it would probably go up to high school. You could start off in 5th grade, and it would go up to high school. My 5th grade grandson enjoys it, and I think that it could go even past that. So that was just a lot of fun. I'm just throwing out some books. I didn't know if people had come across these yet. I think I have one or two more. This is really nice. She's a wonderful writer, Susan Hood. She writes a lot of historical fiction, and this story is an incredible story. I don't know how many people are familiar with it, but the people of Denmark went to great lengths to save their Jewish citizens, great lengths. And she talks about this is actually based on a true story of a young woman who really, put her life out there to help save hundreds of Jews, and they were sending them to Norway, to Norway, and it's very readable, it's very interesting, and she is it's someone that people should know about. I think it's great, and I think I've maybe one more. Okay, this is totally fiction. This is about, let's see, the spies who cracked the Nazi secret code, was just also historical fiction. And for some reason, a lot of my books happen to be from the Nazi era. I don't know. I didn't know if people would have come across these themselves. I just wanted to bring it to people's attention. But this is also very readable. It was really exciting. And the kids really enjoyed these books. They're tried and true in my library. I had a lot of others, but I know Jess has a zillion, so let her get to it.
These are awesome. I really appreciate you sharing these, because a lot of these I was not aware of. So I definitely have some additions to my list. So
right. We have a big committee that reads. I have a lot of teachers that read. We go through all the review magazines, the book review magazines, and we have a whole bunch of people that read for us, so we feel like we have such a good collection. Jessica's been at my library, so we're pretty active. But
yeah, Esther's got a great collection. She puts a lot of love into it.
Before we dive into Jess, I see there's a couple of folks that added some stuff. Maybe wait a minute.
Can I jump in about the Unicorn Society real quick?
Yeah.
Love that. And also I have that whole series as Wonder Books. They are also phenomenal in audio too. Like, they're very engaging. So if you have reluctant readers, they read really well. Sometimes the book doesn't translate as well in audio. These are phenomenal audiobooks as well. So just an FYI.
Awesome. Good to know.
And the book that I have that he wrote, it's not for fourth grade. I think the Unicorn books are for a younger set. This is more for, I would say, 6 and up.
Gotcha. All right. I'm going to jump way down for a second, and then I will come back. Let me see here what I want. I want to do this, and I want to go down to 36. So Kate Appleby had signed up to be here. She shared some books. She's not here at the moment, but I want to at least make sure we notice that she's got some titles in here, because they look really interesting. I've read some Randy Rebay before. He's awesome. I haven't read Everything We Never Had, but he definitely...
Can I talk about this book? This is one of my books.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, this book is phenomenal. I cannot recommend it enough. Also, I've been finding that it is really hard in middle school, well, more so high school, to find books with male characters, especially male, straight characters. It's just really becoming difficult to find. And so I've been going out of my way to read anything I could, because I get asked that probably so much recently. This is a beautiful story. It's about 4 generations of a family. So it's the great-grandfather, the grandfather, the father, but each as they're an adolescent. And it deals with a lot of father-son relationships, toxic masculinity, the whole concept of do we put our traumas on our children, and do they carry it with them? This is about a Filipino family, so they're also talking about their the immigration process for the great-grandfather, and then assimilating, and then what it's like to carry the cultural responsibilities as well, through every generation. I cannot, this book is going to win awards. I cannot, if anyone is has high school, this one is so beautiful written. It's been a long time since I felt so excited to read something this. Is really, really good. Steve, I think you're going to love this book.
Sounds like it. It sounds, I definitely see some ties between this and Patron Saints of Nothing, which was amazing and had some really great, I learned a lot from reading that book about Filipino culture. So I'm really looking forward to expanding.
and this dives into it even more because you're getting it from like the 4 generations, and then you see how like their relationships and it all kind of ties together so beautifully. Cannot speak enough about how great this book is, and kudos to Kate. Like, it's so well done.
Jessica, it's so you don't think it's below ninth grade? Could like 7th or 8th grade?
I
Or
wouldn't.
no?
No,
Okay.
there's definitely some situations where like I wouldn't. It's not like risque or anything, but they definitely talk about situations that would probably I don't want to recommend. I get nervous because depending on your school, like making a recommendation could get some folks in trouble.
Thank
So
you. I appreciate it.
I would say like keep it. It's definitely a high school title.
Okay. Okay.
And then we've
Sorry,
also
sorry,
got
Steve. I just really love that book.
no, please. You are welcome to jump in because Kate's not here, I don't think. So I don't know these titles, it doesn't look like. But if you know something about them, do feel free to chime in. But here's another one Kate shared, Lockjaw. I don't know Matteo El Cirilli, so I don't know. This is a trip of a horror book. It's the horror of society while also being supernatural. Ooh, that sounds good. Starts with 2 timelines that twist around each other until converging. It reminds me of Tiffany D. Jackson's White Smoke and The Weight of Blood. Character diversity is authentic and fleshed out. I like that. Okay. Okay. Man, Tiffany D. Jackson, she can really write a page turner. And then we've also got Beasts and Beauty Dangerous Tales, which I have in my library and I haven't had a chance to get to it yet. So I don't know it personally, but I am planning to get to it. So this is a story collection. Obviously, it's an anthology, and it's a lot of sort of retelling of stories that may seem familiar at first, and then as we dig into them, especially experienced readers might start to see, oh, this is not what I thought it was. But it's Never Anything in the series The School for Good and Evil, which I have and is really good, and I strongly recommend if you don't have it, because it's really, the TV show is good, but it doesn't do the book justice, or the books justice. Several times throughout the reading that I laughed out loud. I was also unprepared for the social commentary that is woven into the tales and appreciate the combination of both it and Shinani's wit. These will delight all readers, from those who know the original tales to those who don't. And again, I haven't read it myself personally. I've got it in my middle to high school collection, so my middle schoolers could potentially get their hands on this, but I might take a look at it if Kate is saying maybe 9 to 12. But that's one to consider. And Kathy, I believe, is here. Kathy, do you want to tell us about this book if you want?
Sure. I'm sorry I didn't get a picture on there, but
Okay.
you know, Kate DiCamillo, she's just writing and writing right now. There's so many of her good books out. This is part of evidently a new series that she's doing called The Normandy Tales, and she's having a different illustrator on each one, and this is the first one. And I just thought it was so cleverly done. I mean, you think the puppets are human as you go through it. And the characterization of each puppet is so well done. Oh, thank you. I see something bringing in the cover. And it all connects up at the end. And I did this year as a read aloud with my 4th graders. I like doing read alouds, but it takes so much time. So a couple classes, we didn't finish it. So it's just a book I'm going to recommend to kids to read. The puppets, the girl has certain characteristics. The boy feels like he's supposed to go out and do something important. The wolf is all about his teeth, or her teeth. Excuse me, that's a surprise in that. The wolf is a girl. And her teeth are very important to her. The owl is full of wisdom. And the king is always talking about the importance of being a king. And but it's just I like a book that when you get a surprise like at the end and everything ties together. And that's exactly what happened in this one. I heard Grace Lynn and Kate Messner talk about this book right as it was coming out. And it's just the picture and how their writing process was with it, and how they wrote the book together, and then Grace did the pictures, and the girl goes into this book, and then she becomes a part of it, but the illustrations are gorgeous, and there's a rabbit on all the pages, so the kids look for the rabbit, and they also look at her clothes. Every time she goes into a different setting, they blend into the background of the setting. So it's like, not only does she get lost in the book, but she becomes a part of it. And it's a really nice picture book. And this one, I'll be honest with you, I have not finished it. I got started on it, but I just love it. It is written in prose, and you can feel her pain as she came up with rules for how to be normal at school, and she's trying to be like everybody else, but I mean, you can feel her struggle as she I don't want to give, well, it kind of gives it away. It tells you a little bit early on and on the cover. She finally can't take it anymore. Again, you can feel her frustration, and she ends up hitting a girl at school, and then it goes from there. But it really does a great job of showing how hard it can. I think how hard it can be to be someone on the autism spectrum and trying to deal with the normality of school.
I love this book. I loved it so much. It is, like you said, Kathy, it just makes you feel what it's like for a kid that might have to deal with some of the stuff that we just take for granted. And one of the things I love is, as a verse novel, it's a pretty quick read for the readers who maybe aren't as don't have the reading stamina, but I think it's such an important, interesting story. And this kid loves dragons. So like her whole life is about dragons. And so she ends up going to a con, which ends up being transformative for her. And it's really just, there's so much fun stuff in addition to some of the heavier stuff. Just a really, really enjoyable book. Thank you for recommending that one, Kathy. I love that book. And Ellen, I think you're here, right? Yeah, there's Ellen.
Yep, I'm here. Yeah, this is one I had read. Now it's a series. I love things by Atanuke. I can't say her name. I just love everything she writes, but this particular one is their early chapter books. So there's like 3 chapters in them. And Otola lives in Lagos, Nigeria, with her sister, brother, and grandmommy, and just tells lovely stories about her everyday life and how she's hoping, and you just get a real picture of what's going on and how life is different there than it is in the United States. And I just really like this. It can be difficult to find diverse, there's many more now, but in the early chapter and early readers, it can be difficult to find diversity, and I just really like this one. And anything by her I really like. So I recommend if you're looking to put that collection. And then the next one is Big. I'm sure we've all heard of this, Caldecott Winter. I am in love with this book, and I'm in love with how it talks about language and how it talks about self-respect and self-esteem, and how that term big, when you're a baby, being a big girl is good, but then as you get big, all of a sudden it's not good. And I just really think this could be used. It says it's recommended for preschool to think. I think you could use this up through high school, because it's a quick read and there's so much to discuss in there on every level. I would use it with SEL. I just think it's just how, and the illustrations are just gorgeous. So if you haven't read this one yet, I would recommend it for any library. I loved it.
Yeah, I was crying when the author read this. It was, oh man, it's a good one, but wow.
Yeah.
Gab, do you want to tell us a little bit about Twisted?
Sure. First, I want to say anything Adam Gidwitz writes, I love. So, Steve, if you don't have A Tale Dark and Grim and In a Glass Grimly and The Grim Conclusion, you should get those because I can't keep them on the shelf. Twisted is by Will Mara, 2020 NJASL Author of the Year. This is a great step up from Goosebumps, and they're actually quite creepy. I can't keep these on the shelf. And he says, I had him at my school and he was talking about how he wrote these with reluctant readers in mind. They're pretty short, but they're also intense. And there's sort of a lot of white space on the page so that the pages look smaller to the kids. And I can't, when they're looking for something scary and they're done with Goosebumps, Twisted is great. And I think there are 7 or 8 now, somewhere around that number. So it's a nice series. I have 2 copies of all of them. And I'm 4 to 6, but you could read them a little bit older, I think.
Can I jump in and say I've had him come several times to do author studies, and also again with him, I want him to do a workshop. I never have authors just talk about their books. I want them to do a workshop, and he was great. He did some for the younger and some for the older, and it was really great. So I really recommend him for author visits also.
I will also say I was trying to get him to come to my school, and because of stuff in my district, I couldn't, but he has excellent prices and packages. So if you're looking for like an all-day event that's going to fit your budget, he can be a very good possibility. So just tossing that out there as a little bit of, maybe you want to know that. Awesome. Thank you. I haven't read the Twisted one, so I've got to get those. Sheila, I think you're here. Do you want to tell us a bit about this?
Sure. So our school, we have the independent readers, the high school kids, and they come in and they'll be like, they're supposed to be able to read anything they want. And then they'll be like, well, my teacher said it has to be a biography. So I was trying to like wrap up my biography section, and that most of biographies tend to be really, really thick. And the kids in high school are like, it's more than 200 pages. So this one, I got it. It's really good. It's kind of like little vignettes. So I'm still looking for good biographies. That's my like little goal here for the year.
I love that. I love that this is maybe a little more manageable way to look at biography, especially of a figure that they've heard of, but probably don't know as much about. So that's great. Thank you. Okay. So I think, yeah. So I've got one more. Why is that not showing up? Oh, because I'm in the old, that's why. Okay. So those are the ones that folks shared that weren't Jess. And now we're going to back up and we're going to see what Jess has for us, because I know that she's got a couple of things. So let me back it on up to here. And Jess, whenever you are ready, you are free to take it away.
Yes. First of all, I do have, I think I took this way too literally. Like I tried to do books that came out from May to like, I think some of these aren't even out yet. So I think some are coming out in August. So I just took this way too literally. So everything is going to be like just coming out, maybe not even out yet. Also, if you want to email me where to send you books and what schools you cover, I have like giveaways for everybody. So tell me what grade level you're looking for. I will send everyone a bag of books. There's not too many people, so I can definitely do that. And then Steve, you can still do the giveaway you can pick somebody for the PD book too. I have that as well.
Jess is being incredibly, wonderfully generous. So yeah, thank you very much, Jess. I actually forgot to mention, so I'm just going to real quick throw out there. We've been talking about doing a book club, NJASL book club on a little more professional title. And so Jess very kindly donated a copy that we are going to raffle off when we get to the end of our evening here. So folks who are in attendance will have a chance to win that if you want to join our PD read when we get there. We haven't quite finalized details on that, but we'll let you know and you'll be able to get a head start on it. So sorry to interrupt.
No, I gave me time to put something in the chat. Okay, so I know that thrillers are still big, but I'm kind of over Karen McManus. Like I need something a little different. Like I need something with some sort of new edge to the whole thriller. So I really like Two Sides to Every Murder. This one kind of had like a throwback to like old school slasher films. It takes place like something like 16 years ago. There was a summer camp, obviously. A bunch of people were killed. They arrested this woman. Her daughter's now like a teenager. And there's another girl who, this is you get both girls' perspectives, who just found out that her parents aren't who she thought they were. So she's trying to figure out who her parents were. And the girl of the murderer thinks that her mother was wrongly accused. So now both of these girls are kind of on a path that is about to meet. And they are trying to find out what happened all those years ago and what did the one girl who was born on the day of these murders, what does she have to do with all of this? And how is her real parentage connected? It's just like a nice take on the thriller. I mean, I think you're going to see what's coming pretty early, but it's still like something out of, I can't do I love Karen McManus books. I can't. They're all the same now. There's so many of them. But this was like an interesting one. And I like the kind of the scary vibe to it. Like it reads kind of like suspenseful, I think, than a lot of these do.
This next one, familiar to us. So
yep, see, I told you.
So we'll go on to our next.
Okay, I also love this one, and I think it should win a bunch of awards. I think you can get away with upper elementary too. I don't think there's anything that I'm remembering in this book that would not be appropriate for an upper elementary student. So this is about two girls and a boy. You get all three of their perspectives. It's called The Anatomy of Lost Things because they all are facing like a major loss, whether that was losing a family member, losing a home during, like a horrible, I think it was I think it might have been a wildfire, losing your home, being homeless, like, and dealing with abandonment issues, like from a parent. And so all of them are dealing with loss in one way, but they all have this object, like, and it's for each of them, it's different, that they're clinging to, kind of like a security blanket. And so it's kind of how that object is helping them get through their grieving process. It's so, so beautiful. I also like the way it reads, like very lyrically. Like, I know that sounds weird, but if you pick it up, I think you'll see what it means. And all three of these kids are very different. They have different interests. So I think it will appeal to a lot of different type of students because you have these very different characters who are all facing different types of loss. And I was reading a interview by the author, and they were saying that they were trying to find a way to get something where there's a loss that each of us have, like, in our lives, even like a middle schooler's life would have come across at this time. So they really wanted it to be universal, and that's why they had the multiple perspectives, so that it's something that every single person could relate to in one way or another. So can't recommend this enough. I actually have this book to give away. Most of these books that I'm talking about, I think I have at some point. Okay. Okay, Lay in the Fire Goddess. This is actually the first one, but the second one just came out last month. Sorry, I'm bringing up my notes. Okay, so this is a Great Pacific Islander representation. I love that the author puts so much of the culture into these books. So the first one in the series is about Anna. She's a great preteen character. She's super angsty. She's very embarrassed about her culture. She's really embarrassed by her grandmother. Her grandmother tells a lot of stories and myths about their culture. None of the other kids at school have that. Anna is, I think her school is predominantly white, so she kind of stands out. And her friends don't have necessarily this cultural background, and she becomes embarrassed by hers. So we skip forward to, it's the summer. Anna is visiting her tutu, which is her grandmother, and she doesn't want anything to do with her grandmother's story. She just wants to go to Hawaii and have a fun vacation like all of her friends are having. So she's being a complete brat about this. Somehow she accidentally insults the goddess Pele. And as a retribution, the goddess has a fire hawk scoop up and kidnap her best friend, who's also on vacation with her. And now Anna is starting to realize that she actually needs that history and the cultural background of her grandmother's stories to save her best friend. And the second one, Anna is a lot less angsty, shall we say, but she is still So it's more like the second one is she's now a little better behaved and her friend is still along with these adventures too. But now that they know what they're up against, so you get to learn a lot about the different Polynesian gods and goddesses, which is really cool. It kind of reminded me of the Rick Riordan series. Like it has a lot of ties to that. So if you have students who are really into this, this could be a good suggestion for them. Okay, I did something to my screen and now I can't see what's on the screen.
That is the story of my life.
Okay, this is another thriller, but again, I needed a different, a non-traditional one. So this one's like very, like, it's a complete noir. Like, just look at the cover. Stacey Lee did like a wonderful job, like recreating that like noir kind of feel. So this is like 1930s Los Angeles. A Chinese American actress is killed. No one cares because she's Asian. You know, there's still a lot of like feelings with World War II coming, you know, and our relationships with the Japanese, even though she's Chinese American, like they talk about like how the relationship with Japan is kind of making the relationship with all Asians like not great in Los Angeles. So this one woman is killed. Nobody cares. The police don't even investigate. They just arbitrarily arrest a guy who was in the neighborhood at the time, like who's like a Chinese man. And then there's the two young women who found the body. These two teenagers are determined that they're going to bring justice. You know, they see this woman that was killed as like indicative of all of them. So they go on a quest to like get justice for her. It's a really good thriller. There's I don't want to ruin it, but there was like a nice twist in there that took a long time to see coming. And I think it's really hard to do these days with thrillers, but this one had like a lot of twist and a lot of cultural background. And it was just a fun read and a very quick read too.
One of the things I like about a lot of the current YA is that there's so many like actual pieces of information that you can learn, like culturally and historically. Like the authors are really doing such an amazing job of weaving that in a really engaging way. But maybe I just haven't read enough. But it feels like these days they're much better constructed than in the past.
Yeah, this like whole setting takes place in Chinatown of like LA 1930s. Like there's so much in there. There were things I was like researching. I was like, did this actually happen? And a lot of it did. You're like, oh, okay. Like I didn't know that this is what was happening.
Love it. Angelica and Gira.
Okay, so I love Lin-Manuel Miranda, and this just reminded me of the if anyone's ever seen The Flight in the Heights, I felt like I was reading this in a picture book format. Angelica spent this summer in the Dominican Republic with her family, like had the best time. Her abuela gave her a gira, which is, if I showed it to you, you would be like, okay, every toddler has this in their preschool music class. She's got to go back home to New York City. She actually lives in Washington Heights, where In the Heights takes place. And to remember him, she plays the gira. And so everybody in her family, the neighbors are all like, she's driving everybody crazy because she's, you know, she just came home from vacation and misses her family in the DR. So she's playing it nonstop. Finally, she goes outside, she starts playing it, and the neighbors from like the different, you know, communities that culturally all start playing different instruments. And then it becomes this great little community thing that happens. And it's like such a sweet little picture book. And I love it so much.
Very nice. The Day Madeir Voted.
I love this one. I thought this was really timely. We have elections coming up. So I was like, oh, there's got to be books about voting coming up. This one's got like a great picture book and a great story. It takes place in 1969. So, you know, we're right in the civil rights movement. And it's about the two boys, and their mother is getting ready to vote for the first time in her life. Like she's never been able to vote before because of like pulling taxes and everything. Like this is her first time voting. And it kind of, through this picture book, shows the history of voting and also the importance of like why it's so important to vote, because not everyone had the chance to do it before. It's not political, like in terms of parties in any way. So it's very bipartisan, which is sometimes hard to find, but it's just a beautiful story. And I thought it's election year, like this would be a great book to explain like why voting is so important to do.
100%. Just what to do.
This is another really cute picture book. It deals with grief. This kid experiences people around them grieving, and it starts out small and it gets bigger. Like the first one, the cactus dies. and then he writes a little note for the brother, then the friend's hamster dies, and every single person needs like help in a different way. So like the protagonist starts like keeping notes of like how to help people when they're sad. And then finally one day a friend's grandma dies, and that's something really serious. And the narrator is great. Like they just don't know what to do. And they finally ask, they're like, I don't know how to help you. And so they work together to figure out like how to help somebody. And it's just like a really cute picture book on dealing with like grief in a, a nice way.
I love that. I need that for myself.
Steve, I'm not seeing the slides. Is everybody else seeing the slides?
Yes.
I can see them.
I think so.
Okay. Must
Let
be
me-
something with my screen. Never mind.
Let me do a quick refresh here, and let me turn this off for just a second, and then I'll turn it back on. And just in case, that way, if anybody is having issues, hopefully we can nip those in the bud. We'll share that again, and we'll make this big.
Yeah, I can see it.
Excellent. All right.
Thank you.
So I believe we are now at, am I right here? National Archive Hunters?
Yeah, there's going to be a bunch. I think the first one came out in maybe March, and I think the last one came out last week, which is why I included it on here. I also included it because City of Spies was probably one of the most purchased books, like, which is fun because I always like to see what you guys order, for upper elementary this year. So I was like, oh, it's great to see like more books of that genre coming out, like the City of Spies series. This one is great. Like somebody did a great job doing research. So it takes place about the National Archives in DC. So there's all different things like having to do with the archives and history. It also reads like National Treasure Hunter. Like they wrote this book for National Treasure Hunter fans. Very historic based, just like a really good like adventure series.
Nice. I am a huge fan of the City Spy stuff. They're so good.
Yeah, they are. I like that. There's a couple that are like that. The Treasure Chest series, this is another great like historical one that I loved. It's like the first in the series. This one, I know this sounds weird, but if anyone's ever read like the Alex Rider books, this one also is like a very Alex Rider, like going back in time. So it's like these two. I would also say this would be a leg up for who are Jack and Annie? The Magic Treehouse kids. It's like the Magic Treehouse kids grew up and they're now like 5th and 6th graders, and this would be like a good series for them where they are just going back in time. A lot of the folks, like I think it was like Alexander Hamilton, like Clara Barton, like they tried to, I was reading something by Anne Hood who said she was trying to pick individuals who don't necessarily get as much, we know about Alexander Hamilton from the show, but like how many books like have we seen? We haven't seen a ton of books for like upper elementary school kids about him. So like she's trying to pick individuals who don't get as much of this. So Clara Barton is the first one. I think Alexander Hamilton's already out, and then there's like I think there's 3 more maybe coming before the end of the year or right after.
Wow. Okay. I've seen this title come up, Jerry Let Me See the Moon, and I haven't got my hands on it yet.
Oh, well, I have it. I think this would be fine for middle school too. It's about a boy named Jerry, and he's moving to a new town. The town is a haven for were creatures. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I don't even know if that's what I should be calling them, but they're not just wolves. I mean, there are werewolves, but there's like all different animals who, when the moon comes out, they just change like the town basically changes to animals. But something starts attacking the were creatures. Again, I don't know if that's the correct terminology. I actually stole that from Buffy, so I don't know if I'm using it right. And Jerry and his new friends have to figure out what's going on. And remember, Jerry's also just moved to this new town. So in addition to this fantasy, he's also just a kid dealing with making new friends for the first time in a new place. Being a preteen, like all of that comes with that, just like being unsure of himself, like lacking confidence. And so through these adventures, he's got to find that confidence to help, save the town.
I was just looking at a bunch of different titles today for something else, and one of them featured a mention of somebody who is a were pony. And I was like, well, that would be
an appropriate term.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I didn't know what to call that.
Oh, I think that's perfect.
Oh, I love this. Yes.
Have you read Matthew Cody's Powerless?
I would probably need to see the cover. I'm a cover person.
Okay.
I just like I go
Yeah,
through.
it's a trilogy: Powerless, Super, and Villainous. And one of our
Yes.
teachers loves them, but it was making me think a little bit of that, like those vibes.
That's a great series.
Yeah.
It's the cover is a blue cover with you see like a drawing of a superhero, but you just see his feet like heading. You can't see the rest of the body.
Oh,
You see his
yeah.
head
Okay,
heading.
I know. Thank you. I know what you're talking about, but I haven't read that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
It's not new.
No, it's been out for a bit. It's good though.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Very good.
So
this,
let's see. Magnolia Wu unfolds it
yeah,
all.
this is like a great mystery book, even though it doesn't seem that way. Magnolia works at the laundromat that her parents run. She feels really bad about the unmatched socks. And so she just like sees all these socks and she starts by making a board and she puts them up there and saying like, let's reunite the socks, like find their match. And no one listens to it. And this kind of like mirrors how she feels where no one's seeing her. So like the socks are a metaphor for what she's feeling. Then there's this new friend Iris that comes who just moves in. She's from California. She's got all this confidence. And so as Magnolia starts to feel seen, they decide to do something about the socks so that the socks also could, get their day in the sun. So the girls go on the adventure and try to match the socks with the original owner. And it takes them like all through the city. You meet these really cool cast of like wacky characters, and it really is a fun mystery. Like there's like a lot of like foretelling, like foreshadowing. So all the things you need like in mystery units are there as well. And like they also like start to build this community in their effort to find socks, but it's just such a fun little preface on how they do that.
When I first saw the cover, I thought for just a moment that it was related in some way to Doodles from the Boogie Down by Stephanie Rodriguez, which is a graphic novel about a girl growing up in the city who wants to be an artist and her mom wants her to just do something that makes money instead. So she's got to try and convince her mom to let her go to an art school. But the art's a little bit similar, but not really as similar as I thought it was at first.
Yeah, it's just a quirky mystery.
It looks
I just didn't know, like, these are all coming out. I didn't know if anyone realized that, but like they're taking most of the Roald Dahl books and making them into like leveled readers. So just an FYI, this is happening to most of Roald Dahl books throughout the coming months. I just wanted to throw that in there. I think the first one's come out next month.
I think we are all the night librarian because we are all here at night.
I know. Well, I always have to find like a librarian book. Like I always make sure I talk about a book that is librarian. And this one's like kind of close to home. It takes place at the New York Public Library. And it's very Night at the Museum versus like Land of Stories, like the Chris Colfer books. Like it's very reminiscent of those. Also, the kids' names are Paige and Turner. Like, come on. And they're twins. They spend a lot of time at the library because their parents travel a lot and work a lot. And their dad is like a rare book dealer. So that's also why they're at the library often. Well, one night, the character from the classic books, in this case, it's what's the vampire book? Why am I blanking? Dracula. You don't want a character from Dracula getting loose in the library, and all of these other classic books get in or get out rather of their books, and they start wreaking havoc in the library, and then the Page and Turner need to work together with the night librarian to find out what's going on. There's so many Easter eggs. Like this is Steve, what's the one that you told me about? Like the Windmere, like the
Dire Days of Willow Weep Manor.
Yes, it feels very much like that in its like reference, like in how it's referencing other books.
Nice.
It's just a fun one. Parrotfish has a superpower. I just like love, like I was trying to find some like fun nonfiction in there, and this was just a fun nonfiction. I think this is a whole series of animals have superpower books. Like it's just a fun like STEM title, and you just get like really good weird information about animals.
Love it.
The Perfect Place. This is like I love Matt DeLaPena. This is The Grass is Not Greener on the Other Side. Lucas has got a lot going on. He's got a great family, but his mom like works late. Like she takes extra shifts as a waitress. His dad, like he's embarrassed. His dad's driving like a beat up truck for work. He's basically dealing with poverty, but he gets to the chance, you know, through some magic to visit the perfect place, and he finds out that the perfection is not what he thought it was going to be, and he would take his parents and the happiness over anything else. So like great for again, like the grass is not greener on the other side kind of folks.
Love it.
There's a door in this darkness. This is a great what are they calling that now? Like new adult, but like it was written as a YA book, but like great for like crossover as well. There's nothing inappropriate in it. I also love that it like heavily deals with the pandemic and the after effects of like psychologically and emotionally, mentally of dealing with the pandemic for teenagers. So Wilhelmina graduated in 2020. She didn't get her graduation. There was a pandemic. The election happened. Like they cover all of this stuff, and it was like, this is great. Like this is real life. Her aunt died. So now we're like fast forwarding. Her aunt died. She's super depressed. Doesn't know what to do. Has never really gotten over 2020. Like is still like living in that time, like being shut down. All of that. She deferred going to college. She's just not living her life. So then like tints of magic start to pop up, and it's like magical realism. Like we're not talking like Harry Potter magic. Like it's very like in the magical realism realm. So she decides to like start following these weird signs. We're talking about like birds doing weird thing. I believe there was a donut, if I remember correctly, something happened weird with the donut. She just starts, first she thinks she's crazy, and then she's like, well, let me just go with this and figure out what this is all leading to. And it's leading to a door that is going to change her life. But the real change is like along the way, she's learning to live again, like getting out of the house, like finding her way. Like it's a great metaphor in all of this too. So I think this is like a great high school one. Nothing inappropriate in it at all. Oh, this is a great middle school one. With Just One Wing. So Coop is adopted, and he like wonders about why his birth mom gave him up. That summer, there's a nest of mockingbirds. He falls out of the tree trying to find one, and he breaks his arm with just one wing. You can see where the metaphor on that is going. After sometimes the mockingbird chicks hatch, they fly off, except one that only has one wing. And so like he starts to see himself in this bird. So he takes it, and him and his best like friend, they start caring for the bird. It's injured in a hawk attack. But then spoiler alert, you can't keep mockingbirds. Like they're not allowed to be kept as pets. So in order to help save it, he can't keep it. He has to give it up. And it becomes a real like metaphor for him. Like, should he give this like bird up, or should he keep it? And then he starts to deal with his questions about adoption through taking care of this bird.
Boy.
Oh, this is a great graphic novel. This is like a fun, like Harry Potter-esque. Juniper Nettle and the Seven Schools of Magic. There are 7 schools of magic. Jupiter's like determined she's gonna go. Like she like is like one of the best students, but she bombs the entrance exam, like does horrible. She's so devastated. Like this has been her dream since like she was like a little girl, like always was studying, like was the Hermione of students, and just failed this exam horribly. She gets a second chance, but the only way she can go is she has to join the School of Earth, which is like no one wants to go to the School of Earth. Like they're the ones who take care of animals. Like it's the Hufflepuff of schools. So people laugh at the students and the professors there. They're just not well received. But like Jupiter's like, this is my only chance. I'm gonna do what I can. Then, of course, because we're talking about magic, some ancient enemy comes to town, and of course, the only person who can defeat it are the Earth magicians. And so she really gets to shine. I also love the coloring of this, which is weird to say about like, but like it's just the vibe of the colors. Like you can see all the schools kind of have their own shading if you watch it like from a graphic novel point of view. So I always like to look at the artistic stuff on graphic novels, and this is just a really cool one to look at. Ghost Keeper. This is a middle school and high school one. This is a great graphic novel. A boy loses his eye and he gains a ghost eye, which I still am not 100% about, but he uses it to communicate with ghosts. And his job is he helps them cross over, like figure out whatever was keeping them here on this earth, get through that, and then go on. Well, the key to death's door, literally the key to death's door is somehow stolen. It goes missing. And so what happens is that the ghosts can't pass on now. They can't move on. And so they're going crazy. And now they're attacking people. They're calling it's basically a ghost plague is how they refer to it. And the exorcists are coming too. The people on Earth aren't really like great about this because now the ghosts are kind of not behaving like we think the ghost should. And the only person they can figure out what happens is Dorian because he's the only one who can see both this world and the ghost world. The visuals are really great on this one, like really creepy.
It sounds almost like a Lockwood and Co. sort of a
Yes,
story.
that is my note about that. Like it is, that is like the notes I have. I'm like, oh, this is exactly like Company.
Love it. Love it. And then I think that brings us back around to where we were. Yeah.
That was me.
Yes,
Oh.
that was. I don't know if we ever got to that one, but you had thrown the title in. Do you want to tell us about it?
This was so are you familiar with she writes a ton of books, a lot of historical fiction books, and I just thought for the older readers, she just kind of captures a good mood, and I think that she appeals to the boys and the girls. She just happens to be who's the other one? Alan Gratz is another great one. But anyway, so this takes place. It's about a girl who's on the Titanic, and the people that she meets, and the people I didn't get a chance to write a description. The people that she meets, and the people and how she and her story, her backstory, and their backstory, and how she ends up in one of the boats, and it's just they all have happy endings, but it's a great example of historical fiction.
Happy ending is excellent.
Yeah.
So we're not quite done, but just so you know, you've all got access to the slides, and on the last slide are links for tracking down what we're going to be doing next if you want to join us again in the future. Like I said, we've got August and we've got plans for our other months. We just haven't quite ironed out the details yet, so we'll have more stuff coming soon. So thank you all for coming and sharing titles. This is great. What an amazing resource this is. I can't wait to go through it. And I'm ready to start adding about 1,000 things to my list. So this is going to be awesome.